What a weekend for your Detroit Tigers. We have some wins to go over. We have a lot on the field. We also have a lot off the field, a lot of roster moves this weekend, a nationally broadcasted game, and so much more. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, August 19th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome in, welcome all. Your Detroit Tigers had themselves a weekend, folks. Okay, they really did. They went out. They won a series against the New York Yankees. They had a walk-off on national TV in the Little League Classic game, and they made a plethora of roster moves, most of which were unbelievably exciting, and it now leads us to where we are here today, Monday, which is an off day. We'll talk about what we're going to do for tomorrow's episode at the end of the show, but this was a fantastic weekend to be a Detroit Tigers fan. A fantastic one. And I understand that it's mid-August, late August, and the Tigers are under 500, and they're not, fighting for a playoff spot or anything like that. But golly, if this last week hasn't been some fun, and if this weekend wasn't some of the most fun I've had watching the Tigers all season. 3-0 loss on Friday, followed by a 4-0 win, and obviously the 3-2 walk-off victory in extra innings in Williamsport. They are now 61-64 on the season, and in the last week, in the last 7 games, they have won 6. They are 6-1 in their last 7. Again, like I said, very busy weekend. You have Torkelson back. You have Riley Greene back. You have, obviously, the promotions that we talked about on Friday. It was just awesome. It was just really fun to be a Tigers fan the last 3 days, man. Wasn't the prettiest baseball in the world, okay? Far from perfect. But the youth is here, and the youth that is in this organization is learning how to win. And that is what these last 6 weeks are for. That is why you keep watching, despite the fact that they're not like in the wild card hunt or anything like that. There's some exciting players on this team, honestly, top to bottom in the lineup for the first time in a while. And they're learning how to play together, and they're learning how to win together. And they just took 2 of 3 from what was, going into the weekend, the first place New York Yankees. I don't know if that held. I don't know how Baltimore did this weekend. So what went right? A lot. A whole lot. A really fun, I sound like a broken record. I know. I'm sorry. We'll get to the actual analysis here. But I'm buzzing. What an absolutely awesome weekend this was. Tarik Skubal at the forefront of that. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Was fighting it a little bit in 1 inning. He had a 3-walk inning, and outside of that was just normal Tarik Skubal. He's ridiculous, and I'm trying to find different ways to articulate how ridiculous he is, because I feel like every single time he pitches, I just come on here and I'm like, yeah, like he's crazy, like he's really good, and I don't know how many different ways to word how good he is. He's incredible, and I feel like in Sunday's game, it really, the reason why you could tell how incredible he was, what made him so incredible, I guess, on Sunday, is that that was not his best stuff, and it was not his best command, and yet it was still a stellar outing that had the entire baseball community and the entire country and anybody who watches baseball talking about and watching the primetime Sunday night baseball game. and was talking about how good Tarik Skubal looked. And that wasn't even him at his best. And that's a pretty darn good baseball team they're going up against. He looked great. I thought the fastball specifically. And you could really say that about pretty much any start with Tarik Skubal. But in this one, I thought the fastball was really good. And honestly, I thought the changeup, again, command a little shaky at times, but I thought the changeup was I don't want to really get ahead of myself here, but that was some of the best I've ever seen his changeup look. That's how good I think he was on Sunday. Parker Meadows, fantastic weekend as a whole, obviously highlighted by Sunday. You get the walk-off. I know that I have continuously just blabbed and yapped on and on about how valuable this dude could be when he's at his best. I want to just go under the scope of the last 15 games, okay? So it's mostly since he's been recalled and healthy, right? On the season, for starters, the average is now over 200. The OPS is up to 670. Considering where he was at when he got demoted, that is nothing short of a miracle, okay? But in his last 15 games, let's just go into that window. He is hitting 351 with an OPS over 950. And he has 6 stolen bases in 15 games and is playing elite defense at center field. That's also 6 stolen bases. That shows a glimpse of the great base running. It doesn't even show all of it. That doesn't even show, when he gets to first and can go first to third on a hit to the outfield. That doesn't show him scoring from second on a shallow ball that most people wouldn't be able to score on. Value, value, value. He is unbelievably valuable when he's at his best and when he is hitting. And he has made a lot of adjustments in his mechanics and in his swing since getting called back up. And we are seeing the fruits of that labor. I am so impressed with him. I hope, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, that he plays every single game the rest of the season. Love Parker Meadows. Great walk-off, by the way. Pitch, on the shadow, on the black a little bit, outside, was able to go with the ball, take it the other way. Absolute beauty. Colt Keith, have a weekend. Went 3 for 4 on Sunday and 2 for 4 on Saturday. Did not play on Friday because of an injury sustained on Thursday. Covered almost the entire week there. Clearly, that day off gave him a nice little mental reset, and he went out there and raked the rest of the weekend. Continue to be impressed by him. And also, it's worth noting the defense has improved. It's not elite. It's not great. But considering where he was at defensively in like May and early June, he really has come a long way. It kind of resembles Kerry Carpenter, I think, in a way, where like when he first got called up and went out there, we were like, oh my goodness, this dude's only going to be a DH. He literally can't play right field. And now it's like, yeah, like he's not good, but he's serviceable. He's a net zero defender out there. He's a -1, maybe defender, -2 defender. He's not a complete liability out there. I think that's kind of what we're seeing from Colt Keith. It's been the range is good. He's athletic. It's just a matter of the footwork in the hands. And I think it's been better over the last couple of months. But offensively, fantastic. Continues to make adjustments and continues to take steps in the right direction from his slow start. We had a lot more to talk about on the side of things that went right this awesome, awesome, awesome weekend for the Detroit Tigers. We will get into all of those right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. I say it all the time. You get 100 times your money currently on Prize Picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed money. It's awesome stuff with football season right around the corner as well. Preseason obviously in full swing. College football week 0 this upcoming weekend, right? We have a lot of sports that are going to hit us all at once, and I am so pumped to be honestly just be involved with Prize Picks to be able to look at all of the fun stats this year. So again, take a look at Prize Picks today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow with a mailbag episode. Tomorrow, there is no baseball game to cover. They have an off day. The Tigers do on Monday. So we have a mailbag. You can put your questions in the YouTube comment section. You can tweet them at me. You can DM them to me. However you want. Just try to get your questions to me. We'll go over. There's no way we're going to be able to go through all of them, but we will go over as many as we can on tomorrow's show. Any questions you have about the Tigers the rest of the season, you want to start talking about off-season stuff, the world is yours, okay? And that is what we will talk about tomorrow. Also, after making us your first listen, make Locked On MLB your second listen with host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, here to provide you the national expertise he has with his trademark humor to get you ready for the MLB playoffs. Again, Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, talking about what went right in this fantastic weekend for the Tigers, Jace Jung. I know on Friday, I probably came off as pessimistic, and that's not what I was trying to do. With Jace Jung's call-up, talked about a lot of the holes in his game and kind of what I'm looking for. That's me just being too analytical and too nitpicky. With a player, it's exciting. One of the best hitting prospects in the organization got called up the rest of the way. That's an exciting thing. We get to see how he does, and he had a fantastic first weekend. And this is like what you saw this weekend is the exciting part and the enticing part of Jace Jung. A lot of really good at-bats. High walk rate down in AAA this season. A lot of good decision-making at the plate. The question marks about the execution of the decision-making. Whether he can, the baseball is beautiful for a lot of reasons. And one of the many reasons why it is because you can make the right decision on a ball to swing at, a pitch to throw, etc., and still have it not be the outcome you want, right? And that comes down to, again, execution, mechanics, all that stuff we talk about all the time. So that is what you saw this weekend that I think was so exciting. A lot of really good decision-making, a lot of great counts. That walk he worked against Garrett Cole was stellar. Does not expand the zone very often, is not afraid to draw walks. And then the clutch hit on Sunday, just the cherry on top of the weekend. Again, went with the ball, went opposite way. No big deal. Just a really awesome weekend for him. I didn't think he looked like a complete liability defensively at third base either. Made a couple of nice plays on top of that. Tried to steal a base. Sneaky athletic. Not really a base runner, but sneaky athlete there. I don't know. I really liked what I saw from him. I thought it was kind of a grindy, gritty type of baseball profile and baseball player that we saw from out of him this weekend, and I'm excited to watch more, man. I think literally with Gio gone, especially, he should play third base like pretty much every day. And maybe if you're scared of lefties early, then I guess maybe you can put Veerling over there at third or whatnot, but like he should get a lot of reps at third the rest of the way. You called him up for a reason. Let's see what we got in him. Keider Montero on Saturday, 5 innings, 2 hits, shutout ball with 2 walks and 5 strikeouts. Talked about it a lot. Talked about it an awful lot. When he got called up, a lot of people kind of scratched their head. Matt Manning was healthy the first time he got called up. Why are we going with Keider Montero? Outings like these are why. That's a shutout performance against the New York Yankees. He has great stuff, and it was really cool hearing so many people. When you play the Yankees, you just have more of an eye on you than normal, right? Just because it's the Yankees, and there's a lot of nationally broadcasted games and et cetera. And just seeing the baseball community be like, wow, Keider Montero, like some other fan base, like we never heard of this dude, but like that's some good stuff when he's hitting his spots. I thought the curveball was stellar. but he lives and dies with fastball command. And I thought that the fastball command, especially up in the zone, the elevated fastball command that he had in that outing was stellar. And I think that it opened the door for everything. We talk about that with a lot of pitchers, but it's such a vital part of pitching and the art of pitching, therefore the art of catching. But it's very important. And with Montero's velocity that he has, especially, it can really open the door for a lot. So I loved what I saw from him this weekend. And yeah, it's hard not to, again, with 5 innings of shutout ball against the Bronx Bombers. Tyler Holton, he might be the greatest of all time, man. Like he might be the greatest pitcher to ever step foot on the planet. I feel like I didn't do a good enough job just like hyping up and really pumping the tires on him the last, couple of months. He is absurd. He's so good. And I just adore him. Waiver claim to arguably, if not inarguably, best reliever. Went 3 innings on Saturday. Friday, Saturday, whatever day it was. Went 3 innings. Shutout ball. Really, in that kind of transition to me, the bullpen all weekend was stellar, to be completely honest with you. They gave up the Manfred runner on Sunday. And that's it. Bullpen, only run they gave up. Didn't give up a single run on Saturday. And then Friday was technically a bullpen game, but they only gave up, 3 runs? Like, just a really, really solid weekend all around for a bullpen that has been shaky this year. Got off to a great start, has been really shaky lately. Foley with another shutout outing is good to see. Holton, again, Miller put together a few solid outings in a row. It's nice to see. I mean, like Brant Herter, fantastic. 6 innings of 2-run ball against the Yankees on Friday. No offense to back him up. We'll talk about that in a second, but like that's great to see. The guys who are eating innings for you are pitching really well, and you need that if you want to limp to the finish line this year with the injuries you've had to your starting rotation. So I want to give a lot of flowers and credit to the bullpen. Let's talk about what went wrong this weekend. They did drop a ball game, and really just as a whole, the offense was not stellar this weekend. Now, they took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. Am I complaining? No. But this is the what went wrong segment of the show. So we're going to talk about what went wrong. And if you look at ever since the 15-run outburst, the Tigers' offense by game has scored as follows: 3-2-0-4-3. That's not a high-powered offense. It's not a very good offense, to be completely honest with you. Now, they are 4-1 in that stretch. So some really good pitching has helped along the way. But it really, they haven't been productive. And also, to be fair to them, they have faced some fantastic starting pitching. The last 2 games in the Seattle series, you face 2 of the better young up-and-coming, not even up-and-coming really anymore, established young starting pitchers in baseball. The Yankees 3-headed monster you face this weekend. Rodon has had his ups and downs for sure, but Garrett Cole and Marcus Stroman, you're facing solid starters. So it gives you a little bit of an excuse there. You're still getting wins against solid starters, but if we look ahead to the next 6 weeks, the remainder of the season, if we're going to play this really young lineup, they need to produce if this fan base wants optimism going into next season and going into the winter. Right. It's one thing to win the games and like win a bunch of games 2-1 the rest of the season. Obviously, people are still going to be pumped. They're going to be like, oh, that's awesome. Like we're winning. Maybe we can even go, finish over 500 or something like that. Like, obviously, that's all that would be great. And I want them to win. I want this team to learn how to win. But the offense specifically is not going to have 2 legs to stand on when we get to the winter. And when we start having conversations about what to add and what not to add, if we don't see legitimate run production from them the rest of the way. So that's something that we need to see. And then specifically, like, I'm not trying to single out one person because, again, the whole offense really wasn't great. They scored, I guess, 7 runs all weekend isn't like too terrible, but 0-4-3 is nothing special. So I'm not trying to single out one person, but Trey Sweeney did seem to be a little bit overwhelmed this weekend after the call up. A lot of swing and miss, a lot of strikeouts already. Seems to have trouble with the curveball. I don't know. It's almost like if you squint really hard, it almost is like pitchers are throwing him how they used to throw Nick Maton, right? We're just like, all right, we're just going to throw this dude a bunch of curveballs, and we know that it's going to work. That's kind of how he was approached by pitchers, especially as the weekend went along and we got deeper throughout the series. So looking for him to make some adjustments there. Some stats were going around online that he didn't hit curveballs very well in the minors either. So that's clearly something that he needs to work on. It's something we will keep an eye on Locked On Tigers. Let's talk stuff because we got so much to talk about with stuff off the field, on the field, you name it. It's going to be a long segment. All right, we'll get to that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, all the time. Well, we have something a little different for you here today, and now through September 22nd. That's over a month. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and in return get 3 weeks free of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Let's talk stuff, okay? Aggressive base running. Huge topic of conversation on Sunday. Joey Cora, we have had our frustrations with on this program, and the fan base, I think, has as a whole. I think Sunday perfectly epitomized why AJ Hinch is so okay with the aggressiveness of Joey Cora at third base. Because you saw earlier in the game that Jace Jung was sent and was thrown out at home, and it wasn't a really close play. It wasn't like he was, it took 5 seconds for him to get home and it was just completely uncompetitive, but it wasn't super competitive either. It was kind of an easy play at the plate to get Jace Jung there. And he was criticized a lot for that send in the moment. And then in extras, sends a very aggressive send. I would argue way more aggressive than the Jace Jung send. A very, very aggressive send there. And Jason Dominguez, I don't know what he was doing, kind of pump faked, hesitated, whatever, and didn't get the ball in time, and the Tigers won. And I think that kind of perfectly epitomized both extremes there and why AJ Hinch and Joey Cora are so like, we are going to run the bases really aggressively because we're going to put pressure on the defense and force them to make a play. And I'm not saying it was a smart send, okay? I don't want to like that. That's not what I'm trying to portray here. That's not the message I'm trying to send. But I think that if you do want a reason as to why they do what they do, you saw both extremes in this game. And so that's something that kind of stood out to me, especially again on Sunday. We did get the corresponding roster moves, obviously, that we did not see for Friday's show. For Friday, I said I assumed that it was going to be Zach McKinstry and Gio Urshela getting removed from the roster to make room for Jace Jung and Trey Sweeney. Gio Urshela was correct. He has been put on release waivers. We talked about that on Friday. Thank you for your service, Gio. And I wouldn't surprise me if he got himself a minor league deal this winter, or even honestly, I don't know, maybe a playoff team wants some depth and is going to put a guy like him on their roster the rest of the way. But Akil Baddoo getting sent back to Toledo. Also, a lot of people confused on how options work. We talk about it every offseason here, so we can kind of save that. But yeah, options are year, like they last you a year. You don't need an option every single time you go down to the minors. It's like once a year you gotta, and there's some situations where you maybe use more than one. That's some fine print stuff in the CBA, but like for the most part, it's, an option lasts you a year. So he gets sent back down to AAA. Not Zach McKinstry. Zach McKinstry is still here and honestly should probably be in the side of things that went right this weekend because he had a fantastic weekend A huge hit on Sunday, but had a couple of hits on Saturday as well. Can play all over the field. I think the coaching staff really likes him. And now I'm completely convinced that he is not going anywhere and he's going to play out the rest of the season for the Tigers. He's also been hitting better lately, for whatever that's worth to you. So credit where credit is due, man. Zach McKinstry, here to stay, I would imagine. And again, if he does stay, assuming he does, I also maybe expect him to play a little bit more outfield. I think they really want Sweeney and Jung to get a lot of reps in the infield. So it wouldn't shock me if Zach McKinstry's utilization, A, just went down in general, but B, was maybe, especially with Malloy getting demoted, we'll talk about that in a second, I think maybe McKinstry getting some more looks in corner outfield may be something we can see. But we'll take a look. We'll see, because you're going to play him at third? Jace Young's a lefty. You would rather have him get those at-bats, right? You're going to play him at short? Trey Sweeney's a lefty. You would probably rather him I think that's probably his route to playing time, but I do expect his playing time to just kind of go down in general. Torkelson called up. Did not happen the last time we spoke. That happened on Saturday. They called up Jung and Sweeney on Friday and then called up Torkelson on Saturday. Bly Madris, the corresponding move, very predictable given the first base situation. His first game back, he goes the opposite way on velocity up in the zone, gets a couple of knocks, gets a walk. Great first game back. Sunday 0 for 3 with a walk, not as sharp in that one, but it's a 2-game sample size. My question, and I put this out on Twitter, X, whatever, this weekend, was I got a wide range of answers, which kind of proves my point, is that I don't think this fan base is confident in him going into next year, even if he performs really well, right? Like, if Torkelson rakes, if he's the best hitter on the team, you're looking around, you're going, wow, he's hitting fastballs a lot better, etc. Are you still 100% sold on him being the first baseman next year? Well, I'm kind of in the boat right now where if he hits well from here on out and has shown clear adjustments, goes the opposite way, like we saw on Saturday, hits velocity a lot better, has good numbers in these last 6 weeks, I think that would make me okay with him being the 1A option again. But in no way, shape, or form do I think it is justifiable to go into 2025 without a legitimate backup plan in place for first base. I think that's kind of where I'm at. Now, if he doesn't hit the last 6 weeks, then you need a new 1A as well, right? Then he's just not going to be the presumed first base option going into next season. But I think that it's really just kind of like, it's like a meter. It's like a spectrum. Like that's where we're at currently. His performance from here on out is dictating the aggressiveness of this front office to have another first base option going into next season. I think I articulated that the way I wanted to. Right. And we'll talk about Malloy here in a second. I think that he's probably going to get some reps at first base here. But I think that is kind of what he's playing for, is like, if he rakes, okay, well, then we don't have to be as aggressive about a 1B option, but we're still going to get a 1B option. If he doesn't hit very well and still looks like he did in the first half of the season, then guess what? They're just going to go get somebody who's going to play first base for him. Okay, and then everything in between. Obviously, if he's average, then maybe they're a little bit more aggressive about it. We'll see. His defense at first matters a lot there too. Riley Greene also activated. We just got, like, everybody's back. We're back. We're so back. We are. We're actually so back. It's insane. So Riley Greene activated from the injured list on Sunday. He DH'd Justyn-Henry Malloy, the corresponding move. I know a lot of people are frustrated about that. A lot of people still throwing Zach McKinstry's name out there and whatnot. This one actually made a lot of sense to me. I think that Malloy, I think this was a solid first stint at the major league level. I do. And I think that he proved that there is a good major league hitter in there. And I think that, honestly, like what right before he got called up, the wind had kind of got taken out of the sails on his hype. Like, people were really hyped for him last year. And then this year was kind of like, like the defense isn't very good. There's still some questions about the offense. How do we really feel about it? And I think that He proved that he can be a solid Major League Baseball player. There are still a lot of holes in his game, though. We talk about the defense all the time. He is not a very good defensive outfielder as it stands right now. He's surely not going to play third base, I don't think, anytime soon. I think that part of the reason why he was sent down, and I don't know anything that you don't know. This isn't like me. Like I don't have an in to like know this information. But it would not shock me if they gave him a first baseman's glove when he went down to AAA, and they were like, "Let's see what you can do here, bud." That would not shock me, and I think that that's probably smart for the organization to do. In the batter's box, again, saw some signs of life there, especially after a slow start. But he still strikes out just way too much. And I think that there's some stuff that he can address down in Toledo. In all of this, even if you disagree with everything I've said, and you're like, there's no justification, he should still be on the roster. He'll be back in 18. How many days are in August? 31. He'll be back. It's the 19th as you're listening to this, right? So he'll be back in less than 2 weeks. He will be the September call-up. So it's okay. He'll go down. Again, I maybe he'll play some first base. He'll make some adjustments in the batter's box. He will be back in the majors in less than 2 weeks for September call-ups. Okay. Also, the last thing we'll mention in response to this move is that now this team is just full of lefties. My goodness. Go look at the offense. You have a stunning lack of righties after the Malloy send down. And that's a theme that we've seen with Scott Harris since he took over. This dude drafts lefties. All the players he claims off waivers are left. Like, this dude just loves lefties. Absolutely loves them. So we'll see how that works. Again, Malloy will be back in less than 2 weeks, and that gives you the righty bat back in the lineup. But there is a ton of left-handed hitters on this baseball team right now. Okay, let's wrap up by just talking about how cool it was that the Tigers won on a walk-off on national TV. It's been a long time since they've had a nationally televised game. I think they might have had one in the COVID season, but I don't know. That even barely counts to me. It's been a while. And to get not only the nationally televised game against the Yankees, a team fighting for first place in their division, and the Little League Classic is just such a cool thing. It's just such an awesome event that baseball does. I think it's something that absolutely should never go away. And I think to have that moment is so cool. Just like no analysis, just genuinely cool. And I think what adds to it as well is so many people from so many other fan bases have been hearing about Tarik Skubal. They've been like, oh, this guy, everybody's saying he's going to win the Cy Young. He should win it with ease, especially Corbin Burns got popped in his last outing. There's really no competition. The Tigers aren't an easy to watch product. It's not something that's just available in all regions. It's just pretty much if you live in the state of Michigan, and then I don't know, does Windsor get it? I you know what I mean? If you don't have MLB TV, it's tough sledding to find too many Tigers games. And so him going on national TV, pitching pretty darn well, just all of it was awesome. All of it was so cool. And I look forward to the Tigers being more and more competitive so that we can get more and more nationally televised game and become a real brand again, like they were when they were winning 4 straight division titles. Because golly, the boys of summer were something else. And yeah, bless you boys, baby. We'll end on this. The youth movement is clearly here. Look at the lineup on Sunday, right? I mean, this was Meadows, Greene, Vierling, Carpenter, Keith, Torkelson, Jung, Sweeney, Rogers. You're switching out Rogers with Dingler away from just being a complete. I mean, I guess Vierling's not really a prospect anymore, but you're talking about all the young guns being out there. I love it, and it's going to be rough sometimes. Right. We've already talked about, and what went wrong. This offense is not a high-powered, prolific, juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. They're probably going to make some mistakes as well. Maybe some mental errors. That's what young teams do. The offense, I can't imagine it's going to get a lot better. But the young players are getting at bats against good major league pitching, and they're playing in close games. They're learning how to win. And that is what the rest of this season is all about. That is awesome. That's the whole point of all of this. That's something I really pounded my fist on the table for last year in September and didn't get. And this year we are. And that is absolutely beautiful. Get them some experience. Get them facing the best pitching in the world. Get them playing in close ball games because your pitching has been good enough. And teach them how to win. Because if this team, if this lineup does well in the last 6 weeks here, it's a whole different conversation about what to do in the winter, right? Then there is no excuse to not spend money and put resources into this baseball team going into 2025, right? You imagine if they I don't again like finished over 500. They're only 3 games under 500 right now. They finished over 500 with Torkelson getting demoted, Greene and Carpenter getting hurt, 3/5 of your rotation just completely getting erased. Actually, forfeit 80% of your rotation, just everyone outside of Skubal from the start of the year at least, just leaving. If they still found a way to have a win total in the 80s, there is zero justification for not putting in, again, a lot of resources into this team going into 2025. So that's what the last 6 weeks are all about, baby. Make that seat hot. Prove a point. Prove that this is the core. Prove that you can win some ball games and force the front office to make 2025 a dang good one. Why not? Again, we'll be back tomorrow. Mailbag. Ask away. Mailbag, mailbag, mailbag. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. I apologize for the length of this episode. There was no way we were getting to everything that happened this weekend in 30, as I usually don't on Mondays in general because it's 3 games, but definitely not this one. So I appreciate you all for hanging with me. We'll be back tomorrow answering your questions. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.